guys, welcome to Podcast Fandom Premium. I'm your host, Nina.
And I'm Donald.
And we are back to discuss Flower of Evil without Kaylee, because she's a quitter. Thought I raised her better. Apparently, I was wrong. So it's just going to be us talking about episodes 13 and 14. This is officially the penultimate podcast for this show, as next week's will be the finale, 15 and 16. So much happened. Do you see what I mean about K-dramas, Donnie?
Yeah, it's like it should have ended.
No, it shouldn't have. Mm-mm. I love it.
New shit happens.
I love it. Love it.
The reporter that came into play like early in the scene came back as a fucking stalker.
I told you. I told you though. I told you and Kaylee back then that guy. At first, I was like, he's going to be the accomplice because he was just super weird and around. But I told you he was going to come back into play because creeper. But that's how K-dramas are. See, you don't have a lot of experience with K-dramas, but I'm here to tell you they leave nothing on the table. If they introduce something, it means something. It's going to come back into play. So, yeah, so much happened. What did you think of these two episodes? Oh, and I have a bit of feedback that I'm going to read when you're done before we start talking about the episodes. But so while you're going, let me pull that up. What did you think?
No, the show's good to me. But it is very dramatic. Like I've said in every podcast we've recorded for this. It like the simplest thing, like it should have ended. But they find loopholes to keep it going.
Yes, that's amazing.
And then it's like this motherfucker's so smart. Their accomplice, the real this real son.
Hee-sung. Uh-huh.
He's smarter than everybody. He's like he knows exactly what everybody's gonna do. It's like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm very surprised the mother's been acting like the way she is. I really thought she was gonna break. But she's like barely holding on to a point where I think at one point she was going to turn herself in.
Yeah.
Like, was going to say, it was me. I'm the accomplice. It's like, what? But yeah, like I said, the reporter coming back into play, one of the early reporters being the stalker, like that just came out of nowhere and then kind of ended quickly. And then the cliffhanger was kind of sucked. I hated that.
That was so fucked up. That was like so unnecessarily. But that's what I told you. They don't give a fuck about your feelings.
Yeah.
Do you think she's dead?
I hope not. He just stabbed her in the gut, so I'm like, she's probably fine.
But then, you're just like, a gut stab wound.
Elsa Borderland, people were getting stabbed left and right.
That's true.
Live, but then again, the guy smashes his hand and he died, so who knows? I'll never let that go. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting the kind of where it goes, because it's like all of a sudden everybody's kind of sees our main guy is okay. He's not a bad guy, and then all of a sudden he is a bad. Like it kind of flip flopped through both of these episodes.
But that's because they fucking don't talk to each other,
right?
And they insist on. That's one thing that's kind of annoying to me, is that I feel like this is now the second or third time where it's like, okay, I told you everything, and we're gonna stick by each other, and then the very next scene, it's like, I'm gonna go sneak and do this. And tell her.
Then like when they get together, when he releases her, and they're like, "Are you hurt? Are you hurt?" And it's like even the one detective that knows, like he's been like they've been talking on the phone and shit.
Choi,
and it seems like he knows he's a good guy, but then his first thing is, "Did he hurt you?"
Because he doesn't know that he didn't kill the maid. You know what I'm saying? Like he believed based off of what his experience with him was and dealing with, finding out who he was and all of that. And believing, remember, Choi, he knows the sister killed the village head. Remember?
Yes.
So he was like, honestly, that is like the only thing they really suspected Hyeon-su of doing, right? So once he's like, oh no, I don't think he did that, he felt comfortable, I guess, trusting him and trusting his partner's trust in him. But then the maid shows up dead, and the maid works for his parents. Like, I get it. And then he saw with his own eyes he was holding a knife to her throat.
Yeah.
So at that point, he was thinking, that motherfucker, I can't believe I was wrong, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm pretty much done. But the father's a piece of shit. Like, if the father deserves whatever happens to the son, the father deserves the same, in my opinion.
Yeah, father is a piece of shit. So,
and then hopefully you can explain to me why I don't know if he's who he is in the police department, but when he calls the father.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll explain it.
Okay.
So this is from Carla, who left this a while ago, but so let me explain what the deal is. So we have a feedback email address, feedback@projectfandom.com. If you guys comment on things on Patreon, the notification for that, like, so if we post a podcast or anything that we post on Patreon and you comment on it, the notification for that comment goes to my personal email address. So that's where this went, and I flag it so that I can find it easy later. But when we're recording podcasts, I just go to the feedback email address to look for feedback. Like, I keep forgetting that these things are here because it's not like typically where feedback is left. So, and to be fair, Carla left this. It doesn't seem like, you know, it was necessarily something she wanted read on the podcast. Like, I don't know if this was, I don't think she minds, but again, I'm sure if she was intending this to be official feedback, she would have just sent it to the email address. So I do want to read it though, because she took the time to leave it and she's listening to us talk about the show, and I appreciate it. So Carla said, "Hey guys, I just listened to this podcast." So this was one of the previous Flower of Evil shows. She said, "First, this show is so good and you guys are doing a great job. Second, the lead, Lee Joon-gi, is both an idol and longtime actor." Ooh, I did not know that. As an idol, he debuted in 2006 as a soloist. He hasn't put out music in some time, but definitely check out one of his concerts on YouTube. I am totally going to do that because I want to hear what he sounds like singing. I can't even picture him singing. That's so crazy. He does a lot of covers and he's one hell of an entertainer. You'll be hooked. As an actor, he is outstanding. He's most noted for his Joseon era dramas, the most famous of which is Moon Lover's Scarlet Heart Ryo, which I highly recommend. And she put that in all caps. Anyway, loving the podcast. It's nice to hear the family back podcasting together again. Love you guys. Until Kaylee quit on us.
She's no longer in the family.
Nope. All right. Did I say how I love it? I love it. I love K-dramas. And now I will say that all K-dramas are not created equal. I have been watching several that we don't podcast just like on my own. And I must say that I watched one that came highly recommended. So many times people would say, "Oh, you have to watch it, you have to watch it." And I really didn't like it as much as people, like, I don't get the hype. Let me just say that. I enjoyed it. I finished it. It's called Strong Woman Do Bong Soon. I think that is Do Bong Soon. I think that was her name. And it was just silly. It was too silly for me at times. And I felt like of all the K-dramas we've watched that are 16 episodes, that definitely didn't need to be 16. Like, it could have been 10 to 12 tops. But I will say the one thing that I really liked about it, it stars, the male lead is one of what we call the Wooga Squad. It is V from BTS, a group of like his besties. One of them is Park Seo-joon. We covered Itaewon Class on the podcast, and he was the lead in that. But this guy, I had not seen him in anything. I knew he was one of V's friends. I knew he's an actor. I want to make sure I get his name right, so I'm looking it up. Park Ji-hyuk. He is the male lead in that. And the best thing about the show to me was how he behaved in his affection for the female lead. Because a lot of times, particularly in K-dramas, the guys are, you know, kind of like reserved and, you know, they don't swoon over the girls too much. You know what I mean? Like they had him acting like how a teenage girl acts when she first falls in love, or anybody really. But typically that behavior is applied to women in fiction, right? Like they don't depict men swooning over women that way. And except here, like he would be texting her and like kicking his legs on the bed and so excited. And I just love that. I thought it was refreshing. I thought he was funny. And yeah. So, that said though, I love K-dramas because for the most part, they're just all so good. The ones that I've watched. And again, I know I have the benefit of being, suggested titles by people who have heard me talk about TV for years. So you guys know me, you know what I like. So mostly the recommendation, and I will say that Dubong Soon, that recommendation came from just like strangers on the internet. When they hear you like K-dramas and, you know, that name just kept coming up. But when it comes to like recommendations for my personal viewing or for the podcast, you guys have been clutch and recommending some good shit, especially early. This was her recommendation and I love this shit. So I'm here for the whole, like, you think it's over, but it's not. The character introduced in episode 3 comes back in episode 13 as a stalker. You're like, what? I love shit like this. Love it. So I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to see how it ends. So we'll talk about these 2 episodes so we can get to watching the next 2. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. So episode 13, I really love this series, how it begins with like those flashbacks to the past. And we always get just like a little bit more into, you know, how we got to the present day. And this one was Hee-sung, who is the real accomplice, the real quote unquote son of the show, who just woke up from his coma. Him as a child killing a dog on purpose, dropping a brick off the roof of a school building or some building and aiming for this dog on purpose. I didn't realize that I thought he hit a person.
Yeah, at first it was like people walking by, and then... Was
he aiming for the dog on purpose, or do you think he was just aiming for anybody and he got the dog?
I think he could have hit a person, but I think he purposely got the dog. He didn't even like run, didn't even like, he just watched, like sat down and asked people looking up at him.
Yeah.
Like, and then he's then the next scene is like them talking to the principal or whoever it is, and
his mom, yeah,
right, and he's blaming it. He's like, "Oh, I'm just,"
because he said he got his report card,
right, and he wanted to die, and all
yeah. But and apparently, this is a thing he does,
right?
And he blames it on like his grades and stuff.
Then he Kaiser Soze's out the office.
Yes,
changes.
And not only that, but he like meets his idol.
Yep.
Because he comes out into the waiting room, apparently, after this counseling, and we see that young Hyeon-su is in the waiting room with his serial killer father, waiting for his session. And he was listening to the mother singing thing. Yeah.
Right.
And so this, in the waiting room, is when he meets, I can't remember his name, but the dad. And the dad is like, do you know why you do what you do?
He's like, you lonely?
Yeah.
You're not lonely no more.
And you have not met anybody like you. And I'm like, okay, great. So where it had left off last time was Ji-won and Hyeon-su going to his, quote, fake parents' house to confront the father on him being the one to try to kill him. And basically thinking that he is the accomplice, right?
Right.
Which is so fucking crazy to me that they're not even thinking that it's the son, that they're not even like The fact that they're being so naive that this man could be faking that coma.
Exactly. And just when his sister tells him the guy that she saw was really young. That was just that this dude did not get, like, he didn't age this fast in 20 years.
Okay.
Fucking spent, so.
Speaking of which, I think this old dude is so cute. And I Googled him, or I went to IMDb, and I was like, I think this is a very attractive older man. And IMDb said he was born in 72.
Are you serious?
You didn't see my status?
Oh.
And I was like, wait a minute. I was born in 74. I was like, I'm not attracted to older men. I'm just attracted to old men who are my same old ass age. But IMDb was wrong. Apparently he was born in like 67. So it's not that bad. But still, I thought he was old enough to be my grandfather.
But even then, he doesn't, I don't know. He looks older than that.
You think?
Yeah, to me, he does. He looks like he's in the 60s.
Because of the gray hair, I think.
That's what.
Yeah, someone, my friend said in the thread that if you see him in other stuff with his darker hair, he looks younger. Like, that gray really ages him. So, but they got too close to the son, because as they're confronting him and the mother, the cops are moving in on the house that Hyeon-su was supposed to be spending the night at, where they think that the human traffic guy is going to come and kill him. And it wasn't him. So y'all just played your hand and now you look stupid.
I love that. Did you catch the mother start drinking dark?
Yes,
dark liquor.
She can't hold shit. They will all be given the electric chair just off of her facial expressions, because as soon as he said one hard thing, she jumped up, ran to the kitchen. You hear the glass clinking because her hands are shaking. She's trying to pour the drink.
Later on, I think it's the next episode when I think it's Detective Choi. Is his name. He's interviewing her, talking to her. It's he just, because she looks suspicious as hell, and he looked like he was catching on. But then didn't play like that. So
it's weird, because we had talked about this. I know we're kind of jumping ahead, but we had talked about this. How are they going to explain letting this person pretend to be their son? And their whole thing was, well, we know it was wrong, but we were grieving because our son was in a coma, or is in a coma, and he was just a wanderer. We didn't know that he was Hyeon-su, that, he was suspected of. So they're claiming ignorance on who he was, but taking accountability for the hoax, but only because they were so heartbroken.
Right.
Yeah. So meanwhile, the father is clutching his pearls. How dare you? How could you think that I? Meanwhile, there's a woman in the trunk. They showed him and his son putting the maid in the trunk when the doorbell rang. It's you got a lot of nerve. So then the mom confesses and says that because they're like, well, if it wasn't you, who else knows about our situation? And she says that maybe the leak came from her, and she takes the letter that the maid had written when she was quitting. And she was like, I can't do this anymore. I know too much. Please wire my pay and the NDA fee. So she goes to show them that letter when the lights go out. And then we see that it was the son it was Hee-sung who smelled the trap.
Yeah.
So they didn't show us this before, but we see it was him who figured that it would be a trap and that they shouldn't do that. And then he came up with this new plan where he would trip the breaker. So the father goes out to fix the lights. And while that happens, the mother is told to go get candles. And clearly it was all a plan for her to drop that stuff and have him come help her pick the stuff up. They'd have been fucked if the wife did it, right?
Right.
What if he didn't touch that stuff? What if he was just like, you could pick that up on your own? But he helps her pick up the stuff, which of course puts his Hyeon-su's fingerprints on stuff. Did you catch here that the mom was kind of wavering?
Yes.
Because what we have seen from the past, from now is that her son treated her like shit, that she's afraid of him.
Yep.
And then she has this son all this time who, you know, is by all rights not a fucking crazy serial killer and like takes things out of her hair for her and does sweet little things, you know? So I really didn't think she was going to go through. I think eventually she's going to be part of the reason why this explodes for them. Because I don't think she's going to be too comfortable with doing things that are going to, like, I don't know. Like, I think she became a little attached to that granddaughter, you know?
What's really going to fuck them is if his sister is dead, and because I don't know. I feel like, so I don't know his play there is he was good because he thought it was his wife. Like, so he kills her because she was getting too close.
And that's going to piss off them.
Right.
The parents, because he just keeps fucking killing people.
Right. As far as the cops, I was like, they can't think it's that this dude would kill his own wife or even now it's good, like kill his own sister. Like, I just can't.
Right.
Hopefully they're not that fucking dumb.
Right. They also, Hee-sung also plants hair in the trunk of their car, which, first of all, they showed up and rang the doorbell. How is their car in their garage?
I was, when he was doing that, I was like, and I see, like, there's a basket of cleaning supplies and stuff, and I'm like, is this the maid's car? Like, I was like, whose fucking car is this? Why is it? And I was like, it can't be there. It's just in the garage. Backed up into the garage. I was like, who does it?
Right? It had to be his car, right?
It was, yeah.
Then the sister's at home thinking about the reporter, the fact that, remember, he still had that necklace and stuff. And then she feels like somebody was watching her. Like, she heard someone outside. She goes outside and she sees there's like these cigarettes and handprint on the glass. That was some spooky shit.
Yeah.
So she realizes somebody's watching her. And then they show the human trafficker who, you know what? Let me look up his name so I can stop calling this man
the human trafficker.
The human trafficker. Like, I know it when we're watching it. Also, by the way, like, these episodes got really good ratings on IMDb. These are like in the 9 point whatevers. Hold on a second. Where have I seen? Oh, never mind. Sang-chol. Sang-chol is the human trafficker. So Sang-chol goes to this it's called Green Heart Asylum, which is, I guess, a home, an asylum, a mental institution. And this motherfucker has mean suk. The woman.
Look, the fact that this place had this woman, and I don't know if she had did they say she had amnesia?
Yeah, she didn't remember, like, her having family and all that stuff.
Her picture's been all over the news and stuff, so that's what I didn't understand. Like,
he was paying that guy, the doctor that worked there, remember? He was paying him to keep her there.
So that the serial killer wouldn't know?
Right. It was just insurance.
Okay.
It was insurance this whole time. And he had paid that guy. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So now that's why he went and got her, because I kind of skipped over this part, but he goes and gets her because Hee-sung was like, we don't need you no more. Like, don't worry about it. I'm awake. And all he wanted to know was, did you tell him anything about us?
Right.
Like, because that was the whole thing. It was like, if he did not tell him, the only thing that can fuck us is if you send Sang-chol to kill him, because then it'll confirm that we're involved, right?
Right?
So once he got assurance from Sang-chol that he didn't, that's when he realized it's a trap. And he's like, don't do this, because if it is a trap, that's the only thing that can fuck us. So, and then he told Sang-chol, we don't need you no more. I'm awake now. You know, I'm going to handle this. So there goes his money, you know, because now he's on the run. Right. So he needed something to be able to ask for more money. So he goes and he gets her. And I just couldn't believe, like, it's crazy because, you know, we are we do this weekly, but I feel like we missed a week with this show. Like, I don't think there was a podcast for it last week. It just started going up on the free channel. So, but in terms of Patreon, we skipped a week. And I do feel like the last time we talked about this, we mentioned the fact that that woman, like, we don't know where she is.
Right. Because her body was never
right.
found.
So
I don't think any of us assumed that she was actually dead.
Right. So Hyeon-su then gets a call. Hyeon-su. I got to remember that's his real name now. We're not calling him his fake name. He gets a call from a fan. So that has to be the son, right?
Yes.
Okay. Calling him, taunting him.
Yeah.
Right? So the police find the body of the maid where they dumped it, and her left thumbnail is missing, so that immediately gets them investigating it as part of this whole Hyeon-su investigation. They find the notebook that she used to communicate, and it has notes that she was writing to Hee-sung, which we never saw these.
No.
This was interesting. She was like, if you do that again, I was like, what did he do? Like, I don't feel like we saw that.
Right.
When she was like, if you do that again, I'm telling the director and madam or something. And I was like, damn. And then they lift the fingerprints from the tape, but we later learned that the prints aren't in the system, right? Like they're like, it belongs to someone who never, because I think in Korea, once you become an adult, they print you. Like, I think in Korea, you're just in the system. You know, like here, you don't have like my fingerprints. The only time you're only fingerprinted, like if you're arrested or when I did the TSA pre-thing, me and Kaylee had to get fingerprinted for that. But in Korea, I think once you become an adult and you go get your like ID for that, like I think you get printed automatically. So because he went on the run from when he was a kid, he's never been printed in the system.
Both of them. I would say both. Because I think the other guy's been in a coma since he's been a kid.
I don't know. I feel like he was older than.
But then that would.
Because he met him. He met the father when he was a kid, but I think he was always older than Hyeon-su.
Okay.
But yeah, because remember,
it's really his fingerprints, isn't it? Or did he plant the fingerprints too?
He planted the fingerprints. Remember, they got him to touch the tape when he helped the mother pick stuff up.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what I'm saying. He touched the last thing he put in that basket was a roll of tape.
Gotcha.
And it's the tape. Then they went and used that tape on the maid.
Got it.
Before they dumped her body. So, but there was something with that, because remember when they showed how he took over the son's identity and he went somewhere to get the ID, and the woman was saying how something like the fingerprints wasn't reading or something, and he started, I'm in a rush, and did it, and she was like, okay, well don't, because he knew everything else. Like he was able to say his parents' name and all that stuff, so she let him get away with the fingerprints not or something like that. I think they kind of covered that. Okay, so then the reporter and the sister and Min-soo, that's her name, and Hyeon-su talk about everything. Like the reporter is like, don't you know they found the body and the thumbnail is missing? So he didn't tell him, because he didn't know that the body that they found was the maid, right? The reporter just knew a body was found with the missing thumbnail. So that he's like, the accomplice has killed somebody, right?
Right.
Okay. So Hyeon-su decides that he's going to meet with Chang-sol, the human trafficker, because he knows for a fact that he knows who the accomplice is, right? And then meanwhile, Sang-chol has taken Min-suk, the woman, to the house that Hyeon-su lived in, that his father was putting them women in cages in the basement.
Yep.
He takes her to that house, and he has her thinking she is going to be reunited with her family, right? And she's like, thank you so much. And he's like, don't thank me. I'm doing it for the money. But we know he plans on calling Hee-sung to say, I have heard if you want her, you need to give me money, which he eventually does, right? He asked for 500 million won, which is about $500,000. which is not even a lot. Don't you think? Like,
yeah, I mean,
for all it is that I'm doing, I want at least $1 million.
Because you need to go and restart your life.
Right. I could spend $500,000 in a week. Come on now. Like, dude, aim higher. But I also wonder if he's trying to be realistic and how much that guy can get and how fast he can get it too. Because he's literally like living on fumes, running from the police. So then this is what pisses me off, because I don't think they showed it to us, but the daughter in the morning, remember, she says, "Daddy, where did you go last night? Because I woke up and I saw you leaving." And I was like, this little girl is so fucking like, girl, what in the world? Go to sleep. What were you doing? And the wife is like, "Oh, where'd you go?" And so he never answers. See, and it's shit like that was just pissing me off. So when she goes to, she's now suspicious, right? Because they figure out that the maid is the victim, and she's like,
yeah, like that scene was just on where she's in her office, and they reported, hey, it's the maid. Initially remembers him telling her, "Oh, I need to go see the caregiver," and then it shows her like clench up her fist. I'm like, come on, it's like you. So now she's automatically suspicious of her husband again. It's like, come on, we've been through this.
But okay, here's the thing though. Here's the thing. I will give her and the cop and the reporter the benefit of the doubt of feeling like, because they were sure before, right? Mm-hmm. And they know he is Hyeon-su, right? Like, they know his real identity. They know what his father did, right? And I just feel like when you are keeping a secret because you're trusting that the person is not a piece of shit, right? Like, the cop put his job on the line. She's putting they're all putting their lives on the line by believing that though he is the missing guy, that he didn't kill the village head, that he didn't know what his father's doing. They took all these huge leaps of faith, to be honest, and then something happens. It's not like they just doubted him out of nowhere. It's hard to argue with, why the fuck are you sneaking out in the middle of the night? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, she didn't just decide, oh, I'm going to be suspicious. Like, legit, where the fuck did you go? Like, what are you doing? It's like, you know what's at stake here. Why are you still being sneaky? So I understand her doing that. I get that he was in his feelings about it, but that's what happens when you don't fucking talk. You know what I mean? Like, if you just said to me, this is what I think I want to do, then I would be like, yeah, there's no way it was you because I know where you were, you know? Or like, it's just, they just get on my nerves. So then she gets the fingerprints and she's all like, oh my God, because they match.
Right.
So what is she supposed to think? Like, you just start to feel like, like, maybe I'm the asshole. Maybe I'm trusting the wrong person. But it was still annoying because I just felt like, talk to him. Because if you tell him, because that's the thing, he didn't know that it was the maid until she confronted him.
I did appreciate, like, because in the next episode, the cliffhanger, and then the next episode, she's like, I'm not leaving you till you tell me what the fuck. Because he kept trying to do that, like, I'll tell you later. I need to go do this. Right. She's like, no. She handcuffs herself. She goes, you're going to tell me what the fuck is going on.
Yes.
And I do like that they sat down and he tells her everything.
Yes. So, Hyeon-su calls Chung-so, which was just kind of crazy to me because, like, that nigga still had his phone. Like, the cops is looking for you.
Right.
I don't know. It was weird. It's like, how you got, but I guess that's like his, you know, that's his human trafficking phone. Like, it's not registered in his name. No, not a lot of people. If you got the number, you're basically buying humans from him. So I guess it's okay to answer. I don't know. But he's like in the bathroom or some shit. So
without his phone. Like, who does that?
I know. I don't know.
Nowadays.
What are you doing in the bathroom without your phone? How are you living your life? Min-suk answers his phone. And she's like, so Hyun-soo is like, who is this? She's like, whatever her last name is, Min-suk. And he's like, oh, Chung Min-suk. He's like, where are you? She goes, I just see a lot of trees. And then I knew from the moment they did the outside shot of her standing in the window, I knew he was going to walk up behind her and snatch that phone. Who are you talking to? So she confronts him with the fingerprints. And see, that's the thing. I just feel like, see, you do that when you want to know the truth to see if they're going to lie to you. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, right. She could have gone to him first. She could have said, there are fingerprints on this tape. It's your parents or your fake parents made. Everything about it looks like, you know, your dad's serial, you know, the accomplice or what your dad used to do. This is looking bad. Like, where the fuck were you? Like, but she didn't. She got the fingerprints first because you want to know, if that makes sense. Like, you want as much information just in case he tries to, because he's proven that he will lie. You get what I'm saying? Like, yep. He didn't tell her where he went. So she confronts him, tells him who the victim is, and then he realized how serious it is. And I kept waiting for him to realize that the fingerprints was because he helped the mother pick that stuff up. Because I don't think she said that his fingerprints were found on tape until they were in that hotel. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't think she got that specific about where the fingerprints were found until they were in the hotel. And when the way she said it, I kept waiting for him to be like, tape, you know, like, but anyway. So the mom, like you said, is interrogated by Choi. And we see that as she's lying to him, we see that the son had her dress up like the maid. Mm-hmm. And take a taxi from their house to the maid's house so that it looks like she left work at 7:30.
Yeah.
And then she tells him that she believes Hyeon-su is the killer. And then as he's frantically calling it in, the boss is like, tell me what the fuck is going on. And he has to pull over. He's like, you're not going to believe this. And the boss repeats it out loud. So, like, the young detective hears it. He's like, what do you mean? Detective Cha's husband is Hyeon-su.
You guys all knew this?
And his face. Oh, my God. So, she goes to arrest him and she puts one handcuff on him. And he remembers what his father told him about trusting people. And that he lets that shit get in his head. And he's like all offended that she doesn't believe him and that he can't trust anyone. And he puts a knife to her throat and makes her unplug the CCTV. And then I just have in my notes here in all capital letters, how we get here. How we get here. I was like, what are we doing?
Right. That's how I felt like. The way the episode starts to how you're like, yeah, what, how?
Yes, because it's going. Right, because it started one way, and by the end of it, everybody knows everything, yeah. And he has a knife to his wife's throat, and you're like, what? So, episode 14, this shit blew me away. So it begins with another flashback, and this time it is Hee-sung getting in trouble by the father, the serial killer dad, because he was spotted with Min-suk by that woman. They got her ass tied, Min-suk tied to a tree. And the father tells him, look, you're going to have to, because you fucked up and, you know, we have rules. So I need you to push her off the cliff and then turn yourself in. Tell the cops she fell off the cliff while running from you. With the right lawyer, you'll be out in no time. And Hee-sung was like, well, why can't we get your son to do it? Because you say your son do whatever you want. And he pulled out a knife and went to like stab him. He was like, you keep my son's name out your mouth. That surprised me.
Yeah.
That really surprised me. Because we haven't seen a lot of this relationship yet. Like, right. You know, and how he regarded his son, it just surprised me that he would be like, And it turns out like he didn't have the blade out on the switchblade when he like poked him with it. So he's like, if I wanted to kill you, I could have. Now do what I told you to do. And he walks away. And that's how the scene cuts. Now, I guess we could talk about it now because they reveal it later. He kills the father. And beyond thinking maybe he's still alive, I don't think we even questioned what happened to the father.
We never did.
I
thought it was.
I thought
he had killed himself.
Yeah, that's what they thought that he killed himself before before they even knew they had a serial killer problem. Remember?
Right.
So, yeah, I was like, oh, he killed him. I hadn't considered that. What a way to go out, though. I was kind of disappointed. You turned your back on another serial killer. But that was that ego. You know what I mean? Like, he thought he controlled that kid, and he was wrong.
Yep.
So anyway, when the cops show up at their place of business, they're hiding in a closet. And I thought Choi figured it out.
I thought Choi saw him. Like, the way it played, Choi's like, he specifically went to that closet, looked in there, and then left. I was like, he saw them, right?
I thought he saw them too. I kept waiting. Like, so when they run later, like they sneak up to the roof and then the way it was cut, like the way it was filmed and edited, there was so many points where I thought they were going to like turn a corner and he was just going to be standing there.
Right.
But no, he didn't. But it is in this, when they're trying to, before they hail a cab, someone bumps into her and her police ID falls and hits the ground, and the plastic cracks. So you can't see her photo. And he makes her put the ID, Hyeon-su makes Ji-won put her police ID in her pocket instead of like walking around with it around her neck. And that comes into play later. And when they focused on that happening, I thought, oh, that's going to be important later. But then I completely forgot about it until she pulled the ID out in the car. And then I was like, oh, fuck, something's going to happen.
When it fell and it got run over, my first thought was that police were going to find it and then really think something happened to her.
Yeah, same.
But that wasn't what happened.
Nope. So, I like how the cops are getting in trouble. So the guy that called the father, right? The cop that you were asking about.
Yeah.
He's the chief, I think.
So why is he calling?
He's either the chief or the captain, but he's above their boss. Their boss, who is the lawyer from. That's
what I took, but
yes.
But it played like he's, because when they come in the room, they're like, let's play it. Let's not tell anybody that she's here.
Right. Remember, he had the mayor or somebody meet with him with the father, who is he's the head of that hospital. And so the whoever that other guy was, I'm just going to say it's the mayor. I'm not sure, but he's somebody high up too. He was basically telling him, like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, go easy on him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he believed him when the guy said, you know, we only what's their last name? Beck. When he was like, we only took him in because we were grieving and blah, 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 but we didn't know and we don't want to cause any trouble. But it was just like rich people looking out for rich and powerful people, basically. So
yeah, I did not, like, I was like, this, like.
So he just basically
puts him as a bad guy.
Right. I mean, it was stupid and it causes trouble, but he basically did it kind of like, you know, like looking out for him because the boss told him to, like, treat him special, basically. So, and of course it's his maid that was killed, right? So, and his fake son that's, you know, accused. So I think he just thought he was, you know, looking out for him. So I thought it was interesting, though, before all of that, when they're getting in trouble, like, or he's getting in trouble and he's like, we're going to look so stupid. How could you not know? I like that one of the cops, like, basically put up for her. He was like, no, she's a victim. She didn't know. But then when he leaves the room, he looks at the chief and he's like, she didn't know, right? But then he thinks back to Choi gripping her up.
Yep.
And he's like, and you can tell he knows she knew, but he still lies.
Yes.
And covers for her. So Sang-chul locks that poor woman in a cage and goes off to call Hee-sung. And that's when he makes his demand for money. But then Hyeon-su calls, and that's when... but Hyeon-su calls him from the hotel that he checked in with his wife. And he's basically like, we should team up. You know, he fucked you over, or he's gonna fuck you over.
Right. He's gonna kill you.
Right. So you need to like work with me. And then I like how the wife, with her experience in this type of stuff, was like, she hung up the phone and was like, there's nothing else to say. The longer you stay in that conversation, you're at a disadvantage. And she's right. The longer they stayed on the phone, it would have just been him begging him. You know, come on, you know what I mean? With nothing really to offer. Yep. So it's best to just like leave it. And that turns out to be good, because when he goes back to the house and she's in that cage, she has remembered being in that cage before. Because remember, she could only remember walking after running away. Remember, she was so traumatized. So all this time, she didn't remember that stuff. Being put back in that cage reminded her of when she was in there before, and she sees in her memory the father and Hee-sung. And then she remembers him killing the other guy. So this was just a stroke of luck, really, for them.
Right.
Because then she tells Sang-chul, she's like, look, can you just kill me now? And please don't give me to that yellowed hair guy, because he killed his partner. And blah. And then that's when he's like, oh, shit. Because he thought the guy killed himself. The serial killer, yeah. So, he sets her up again, handcuffs her to a table. She was so mad. Oh, wait. We got to talk about, like, after the thing with the knife. She was like, did you put a knife to my throat? He was like, no.
It's a letter opener.
He was like, it's unsharpened silver.
And she still was pissed.
Because she had every fucking right to be.
Yeah.
She's like, I didn't fucking know it was a letter opener. I thought it was a fucking knife, and I was terrified. That's like, that's some shit. You got to let her work through that. You can't just be like, oh, no, it was fake. Like, no. Like, motherfucker, no.
Oh, and while this is all going on, her mother has a heart attack.
Oh, my God.
And I completely missed that until later on when their daughter shows up at work. I'm like, what?
Yes. Like, well, because they don't show it. They just show the cop telling the grandmother, and the grandmother, like sitting down.
She holds her
Yeah,
chest.
but, like, you didn't know it was a heart attack. So the call that he made to Chung-sol, they recorded it. So when she is rescued by the quote unquote rescued, she plays it for them, and it proves that there is a third party, that there is an accomplice, that there is somebody, you know, working with Sang-chul and all that. And they decide to, for now, trust her word and investigate this, but also, like we talked about earlier, keep her return a secret.
Right.
But then the chief calls. He calls and he says, see, this is the thing that fucks it up. He says she's unharmed, she's back, and she is convinced that Hyeon-su, her husband, didn't kill your maid. And we are as well. Like, so they're like, what do you mean? So now the son, Hee-sung, is like, where did I fuck up? Why are they so sure he didn't kill the maid? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So, oh God. The cops, and then the sister, what does the sister do? Oh, she catches the person looking outside her window, and she chases after them. But then the cops are there because they were staking her out, thinking Hyeon-su might contact her. So they end up catching the guy thinking it's Hyeon-su, but it turns out it's that reporter, right?
Yeah.
And our reporter, whose name I'm forgetting, Min Woo, I think, he was trying to run after her after she left his place, right? Because she was like, we got to do something. And he's like, no, the evidence points that your brother did it. And she's like, why are you always such a pussy when I need you? That shit was so funny to me. She was like, why do you always do this? And he was going to chase after her, but he had to run back to his apartment to get his keys and stuff. And then the cops stopped him. So he wasn't with her. So I think that's what's important, right? So she ends up going to the police station after they arrested that guy for stalking her. And that's where she runs into Ji-won with the daughter. And we find out about the heart attack. And then I kept waiting for her to tell her that she's her auntie.
I did too. And then, like, if she did, they didn't tell us. But
Right.
Then, because she was very trusting to go with her. And her mother's like, oh, she's going to teach you art.
Right.
All right.
So then she ends up, she's like, can you please watch Unha because I ain't got nobody else to watch her.
My mom's in the hospital. She's always babysitting.
Her other grandparents are murderers.
I don't like her anyways.
Her dad's off doing fuck knows what, meeting with the human trafficker, on the run from the, so.
You're my last hope. Obi-Wan.
So they stop. So she tells him, we'll stay at your place, but I'm going to stop by her house to pick up some stuff for her. Right. Mm-hmm. And when they're at the apartment, that's when we see that Hee-sung is there.
Just sitting on the couch.
That was some creepy shit. And she makes the daughter like lock the bedroom door, and she realizes he thinks she's Ji-won because he's never seen her.
Right. But he has seen the daughter. So I was...
But when they show the flashback, this is what I like. I like that in the flashback of him seeing the sister in the past, like at the funeral home, she's different. Like, obviously, because it's a different actress. They aged her up. But I like that they showed that so it's clear that he doesn't recognize her. Right? Because she's older. And the police ID is cracked. So he can't even see that it's not the same person in the picture. And she lets him believe it by saying, just spare my daughter.
Yep.
And then again, he wants to know, why are you so sure? Why are the cops so sure that Hyeon-su didn't kill the maid? I want to know, did I fuck up somewhere? And she just simply says he doesn't have it in him. Because he ain't a piece of shit like you.
Right. He has no feelings.
And... they don't show it, but he stabs her and he just leaves.
Yep.
She can't be dead, right? Like,
no,
that's
he stabbed her in the gut. It wasn't even in the chest, right? It was like the belly.
I just feel like it's fucked up because it's just fucked up. Like, they've come this far. For her to die like this, like, I feel like they can't do that. But they probably will. Because it's a K-drama and they don't give a fuck. But we're done. We have 2 more episodes, Donnie.
Yep.
2. How is your 2? How are there 2? Who's gonna die?
Definitely the apprentice, the serial killer son. He's gonna die.
Do you think the father's gonna die?
No, I think the father and the mother will get caught and they'll both get arrested. But
I like when he said to his mom, he was like, you gave birth to me, you killed me, and you brought me back from the dead. To me, you're like a god. He said, Nahante Shiniya. So, Nahante, to me, Shiniya, a god. Because I speak Korean, bitches. Anyway. But I did like that. Like, because I forgot about that. I was like, oh, that's right. She is the reason he's in that coma. He was in that coma. She did try to kill his ass. She tried to take his ass out. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Kaylee and I had said that night of the car accident when he hit Hyeon-su, that he was on the phone with somebody and it felt like he was talking about a woman. Now we see he was asking the human trafficker to get rid of the woman.
Right.
Yeah. Min-suk. So... her poor husband, not poor husband, because he did murder that man, but her husband, the cab driver, like, didn't he only have like a little bit of time left to live?
Yes.
And stuff. Like, he don't even, you think he's going to find out? Like, I at least hope that. I at least hope that he gets to see his wife. I know he's a murderer, but he was pushed to that.
Right.
Because of, you know.
Yeah, I think he will.
Circumstances. I really hope they do that. Like, please don't leave that hanging. Because that's so fucked up. That she was in a fucking asylum all this time. And at first, I even said to Kaylee, because she didn't watch it, but she was like, tell me what happened. And I was like, it just, like, all this time, like, he never even checked places like that. But again, he thought she was dead. Right. Like, everybody thought she was dead. He just wanted her body. So why would he check hospitals and stuff? Right. Yeah. So anyways, that's it. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
All right. So we'll be back next week with the finale. In the meantime, we're covering a lot of great stuff for our premium subscribers, both the premium tier and the time travel tier. We begin coverage of The Last of Us tonight. We're doing live video reactions for our time travel tier and podcast for our premium tier. I'm very excited about that. We're also finishing up Alice in Borderland. The finale podcast was about 6 days late because we had some computer issues at the start of the week. So we released the prior podcast on time for premium folks, but time travel folks, the finale podcast has been delayed for you guys. We're going to record that today, as a matter of fact. And a lot of great stuff, including anime coverage of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Ranking of Kings, and the last half of this first season of Spy Family. And in terms of dramas, we're still covering, I have to think about it, Let the Right One In for time travel, and we have the finale of The Devil's Hour coming up for time travel, and we're continuing Peripheral for time travel. For everybody else, we started The Mayfair Witches, which wasn't bad. We wish they had given us 2 episodes, but we do get that second episode today, right?
Yeah, it came out Friday already.
Oh, did it?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I would have watched it if I had known that. So we're covering that. In a couple of weeks, we will have the second half of that first season of Money Heist Korea. Some folks in the group are watching it already, and I'm super excited to watch it. I can't really join the conversation because I don't want to be spoiled as much as you can be spoiled about an adaptation, you know. But that's coming. And there's one other thing I was really excited. Oh, we're doing Kaleidoscope, but that'll be like at the end of the month. And there was one other thing. I had it and I just lost it. Donnie, what's the other thing? Why am I drawing a blank? It's good too. Shut up. Hold on. Let me pull up the schedule and stop doing this to myself. Mayfair Witches, Peripheral Devil. Oh, our next K-drama after Flower of Evil is called The Glory. That's another one that people won't shut up about, but I can't, like, I have to, like, divert my eyes because I don't want to be spoiled. And it's what I've heard is that what we're going to be covering is the first part of the first season. The second part comes out in March. So yay. But it's a revenge tale. And I loves me a good revenge tale. K-dramas do revenge like nobody's business. It's always...
A lot of shows are doing that now. Like the two-part things. I didn't even know that what's it? Gotham. Or not Gotham. What's the
Titans.
Titans. They did that. So the second part of that last season doesn't come out till later this year.
Oh, I didn't know that. And there's one more thing. Oh, Hunters, the second and final season.
That dropped too.
Yeah, of Hunters on Amazon Prime. We're going to start covering that in a couple of weeks. It's already out, but we, as you can see, we have a lot to cover, and I want to put some stuff to bed before we start new stuff, because that is the surefire way to get overwhelmed and have shit not get finished and have shit always be late. I'm just keeping it real. So, in a couple of weeks, Hunters will be joining the lineup as well. So, as always, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time.